Welcome back to Dukascopy TV, and right now I have Ekkehard Ernst with me in the studio, and he is from the International Labour Organization, and today we're going to have a look at the labour markets. So welcome today.
Hello.
So first of all, if we look at the US, now they added 157,000 jobs in January, and the rate of unemployment steadied to 7.9%. Now the Fed is still actually quite concerned, and it said it will maintain its 85 billion bond buying program in order to try and bring down the unemployment rate. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think this will actually be successful?
Well, the US unemployment rate is still very high in historical comparison, and is only gradually declining. What we see at the ILO is that the unemployment rate will remain above 7% at least for the next 2 years. So clearly there is more stimulus needed, there is more stimulus on the monetary side needed, and we obviously hope that the fiscal problems that are still with us will also be resolved in the course of this year in order to make the unemployment rate come down faster. One of the big problems that we see in the current recovery in the labor market in the US is that it's very uneven across sectors. You have certain sectors like construction which are still far down from pre-crisis levels. We're talking about differences about 30% in terms of number of jobs lost between 2007 and 2010 in the construction sector, and they only recover gradually by 5-6% over the next 2 years. You have other sectors like education or health services who have recovered or continue to expand quite dramatically by about 30% over the last 5 years. And this means that a lot of movements in the US labor markets will not happen within sectors but across sectors. So people need to find new jobs in different sectors, maybe also in different areas of the economy, and that might take time before they can achieve this recovery.
And moving on to the Eurozone, where employment is still a great concern, is still very high. It recently was 11.9%. Now in Spain it worsened, Greece is all still very bad. So many people in the Eurozone, young graduates, are actually living in countries spread across the world. Now how and when do you see countries like Spain and Greece improving in terms of unemployment?
Yeah, unfortunately, our forecast is not very optimistic for these countries. We see that the unemployment rate will remain very high in Spain, above 25% for the next 2-3 years. That has mainly to do with the fact that the economy is not recovering there for the moment. In Greece, the situation is even worse, where the recession conditions is continuing for the 6th year in a row now. There we see unemployment rate even rising above 27% before, then gradually declining, but clearly way above the pre-crisis levels that we have seen in both countries. Now the Eurozone problem is that it's very uneven across countries. We have seen these crisis countries, Portugal as well, Italy has also a relatively high and sticky unemployment rate, and then you see other countries where the unemployment rate has actually declined. So there's a massive imbalance in terms of labor market developments in the euro area, and that makes it extremely complicated for policymakers to find the right mix between stimulating the economy, which is necessary for these crisis countries, and at the same time preventing any kind of overheating that might happen in countries that have a much stronger labor market.
And the European Employment Commissioner believes that labour reforms are imperative in order for improvement. Now, he said large parts of the workforce are stuck in the role of a Cinderella, having to find their way through very difficult situations and without a clear hope for a better future. He also said they do not have real opportunity to improve their situation and contribute to economic recovery. Now, what are your thoughts on labour reforms?
Well, the problem is even worse than what Commissioner Andor is describing. It is that not only we have a lot of unemployment, but we do have a lot of people who have dropped out of the labor market altogether. Now, these people clearly cannot be helped by just simply labor market reforms. Actually, we have seen in several crisis countries like Spain and Greece that a lot of reforms have already been taking place without the expected effects. What these countries really need is more stimulus. They need a reduction in the uncertainty that is hampering their economy to recover. And they need much more coordination in terms of European policies to help these countries to get out of their slump.
And what about countries like Germany, Austria, Netherlands? Now, it looks slightly better in these countries. Are there brighter prospects for these countries, and what are the driving factors to their growth? And let's not forget Ireland, which is still quite high, about 14%. But would you be feeling more bullish, like in terms of a crisis country like Ireland, and also about like these other countries?
Well, Ireland certainly has done certain things right in terms of getting out of the crisis, in particular cleaning up the banking sector to help the business to revive and the economy to get access to credit again. I think that is clearly also something which is needed in the other crisis countries in the southern cone of Europe. Other countries have, as I said before, been relatively bullish throughout the crisis, like Germany, where the labor market has improved throughout the entire 5 years since the crisis. Partly this has to do with reforms that have taken place before the crisis actually happened. Partly also has to do with the fact that the German economy is a very export-oriented economy towards dynamic emerging markets in Asia and Latin America. That has certainly helped the German economy to kind of diversify itself a little bit from the crisis situation around it. Other countries had started with a much lower unemployment rate. The Netherlands, for instance, or Austria had always have very low unemployment rates over the last decade, and so these countries have been much less affected, even so the economy itself is not necessarily performing that great in these countries either.
And looking to other places around the globe, what will be the main challenges and prospects we'll see? And of course, you think Asia is the place to be in terms of employment opportunities?
Well, the immediate future, clearly these countries in Latin America and Africa that are driven by commodity prices are very dynamic countries that attract a lot of activity or a lot of investment, including a lot of labor force. Brazil is, for instance, a country that has attracted a lot of new workers from across the globe. These countries benefit from a very short-term improvement in commodity price cycle. Over the longer term, we clearly see that East Asia is the place to be. In particular, China, obviously, where you see an emerging working middle class, which is not only there to kind of expand the global skills pool, but they have also a lot of purchasing power, so they will attract a lot of consumption money over the next decade or so. We foresee that this consumer class in East Asia will occupy around 70% of the global middle class over the next 5-6 years or so.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, that is it for right now, but do stay tuned to Dukescopy TV for more interviews and press reviews. Goodbye for now.